Behind me you can see the legendary Balocco test track, which is the home of so much development for Alfa Romeo over the years, and this is the new Alfa Romeo Junior. Now, if you've been following drive.com.au for some time, you would know that this car was originally called Milano, and then at the last minute they had to change the name to Junior because of some legal implications. What's quite interesting to me, and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the people at Alfa Romeo have said to us this generated so much publicity before it had even broken cover that they're thinking of calling every car Milano and then changing the name at the last minute just to get people talking about it. But we're here to drive it, and we're going to get to use parts of the Balocco facility that haven't been open to anybody except Alfa Romeo engineers since the 60s. So this is pretty cool. This promises to be an interesting and fun car, judging by the numbers on paper, but it also looks sensational. This is the first time we've seen it in the metal, obviously. A beautiful looking car, which we expect of Alfa Romeo. It's a stunning day, about an hour outside Milan. We are on a test track that we've driven before, but not the parts that we're going to use. Can't wait to get behind the wheel of the new Alfa Romeo Junior. The Junior we're driving at the international reveal is slightly different to what will land in Australia in terms of equipment and specification, but the drivetrain is true to what our market will get. We suspect that pricing will land somewhere between $58,000 and $68,000 before on-road costs, when final specification is nailed down, but we'll see how good that guess is soon enough. The cabin has a premium but decidedly sporty feel, thanks to the choice of quality materials and plenty of that Alfa Romeo DNA. The Seatbelt sport seats, for example, are excellent regardless of whether you're pushing on or cruising, and it's worth noting that the Juniors we're driving are pre-production test vehicles as well, but the quality of the build is evident from the outset. Twin 10.25-inch screens deliver smartphone connectivity and interactive displays for the driver, and a neat row of conventional buttons makes changing the heating and AC controls a cinch on the move. Alfa Romeo has told us before that a renewed focus on quality and execution must feature in all its new cars, and the Junior looks to have nailed that brief. At launch, we're driving the high-performance Junior Veloce, which generates 207 kilowatts and 345 newton meters from its front electric motor. It's front-wheel drive only, and despite no drive to the rear, it still scoots from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 5.9 seconds. Claimed driving range for the performance version is up to 334 kilometers, although the tamer entry-grade Junior will cover 410 kilometers. The 54 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack is as light as it can be with current technology, and Alfa Romeo quotes a 10 to 80% charge time of 30 minutes at up to 100 kilowatts DC. Given the demands of a city-based small car or SUV, the range looks to be right in the sweet spot of what buyers will expect. The Veloce variant we're testing is Focus 2 with 25mm lower suspension, firmer anti-roll bars, big 380mm front rotors with 4-piston calipers, 20-inch wheels and Michelin Pilot Sport EV tyres, and a specially developed torque-sensing front differential. The best part about this Langhe section of the Balocco track is the fact that the internal part of it is designed to mirror a specific part of the driving road in a region of Italy not far from here. So consequently, this internal road, twisty, windy as it is, and changing altitude, I guess you could say, is designed to mimic a real piece of road. So the surfacing, the undulations, the corners, all of that stuff are designed to be exactly what you'd see on a regular twisty road. And I can tell you that the new Alfa Junior, even though it's an electric vehicle, even though you'd expect it to be heavy and a little bit unwieldy, is incredibly fun to drive. I think it's really, really important that any Alfa Romeo is fun, and the Junior is absolutely fun. Everything about it is fun. The steering, the braking, the balance, the handling, the way the chassis responds, everything about it. When you're on a twisty road like this, even doing regular speeds, we're only doing about 80 k's an hour through these corners, but it's fun. The balance is fantastic. The steering feels really, really direct, and you get that sense of connection between driver and car that we've always said we love about Alfa Romeo, and indeed
we've always said we expect from Alfa Romeo, and I'm willing to concede that that's not necessarily the easiest thing for engineers to deliver, especially when you're talking about electric vehicles. On that note, you might expect it to feel like it's heavy, and when you're going over a rise and then down into a big dip like we did just then, it actually doesn't. It feels quite light on its feet. It weighs 1,500 kilograms, so it's not like an Alfa 4C that's 1,000 kilograms. It is heavier than that, obviously, but it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel unwieldy. It doesn't feel like you're trying to push a 2,300 kilogram or 2.5 ton SUV into a corner that it doesn't want to go into at a speed it doesn't want to go through it at. It feels like it's doing something that it's been designed to do. The Alfa Romeo engineering team has told us they've spent countless hours ensuring that it'll do exactly that. And I can tell you that from behind the wheel, it's incredibly rewarding, and it feels every bit the Alfa Romeo.
At launch, we toggle between dynamic mode on the faster sections and natural mode on the regular road loops. Alfa Romeo quotes best-in-class road holding and the most direct steering in the segment, and it's hard to argue with either of those claims. The Junior feels sporty, light and responsive, and it's as fun to drive at the limit as it is comfortable to cruise around at slower speed. The steering especially feels excellent at speed, and it changes direction without huge shifts of weight to unsettle the overall balance. A spirited run on the high-speed circuit illustrates that this electric SUV has been designed with fun very much at the forefront. The Torsen differential helps here too, and the Junior doesn't feel prone to nasty understeer, even if you try to be silly through a corner. You might not expect it to be as fun as it is. Once you wind it up in true Alfa Romeo style, it delivers a genuinely engaging drive.
The steering especially, I think, is really, really impressive in this car. When you turn it into a corner, it goes exactly where you want it to go. If you're looking to hit an apex on the test track part of the facility, it goes exactly where you point it, and it fires into and out of the corner really, really effortlessly. And I suppose, on a wet road, if you're really pushing hard, you might start to feel that it's heavier than it would be if it wasn't electric. But gee, it's a lot of fun to drive. It really is. And on a beautiful day like today, on wide sweeping roads like the test track, it's just fantastic. So I think the Alfa Romeo engineers have done a really, really impressive job with the new Junior. I've got to be honest with you, there's something that really stands out and surprises me about the new Alfa Romeo Junior. It's not that it looks absolutely stunning, because we expect that from an Alfa Romeo. It's not that the steering and braking are both incredible, because we expect that from an Alfa Romeo as well. You really do go into driving one expecting that connected feel where you're at one with the vehicle, and that's not always easy to deliver with an electric vehicle, but regardless, we expect it. No, the thing that surprises me the most is how light this feels. Now, I know it sounds a bit ridiculous to be saying a 1,500 kilogram vehicle is light, in inverted commas, but you could reasonably expect an SUV like this to weigh 200, 300 kilograms more than it does. So consequently, when you're out there on the high-speed test track, it feels lighter and more agile, certainly than I expected it to be. So I think that is something genuinely impressive, and it's allowed the Alfa Romeo engineers to truly capture the essence of what makes an Alfa such a fantastic thing to drive. Don't forget to let us know what you think in the comments section below. Hit like if you've enjoyed the video. Click on subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our latest video content. And of course, the full review for the new Alfa Romeo Junior is over at drive.com.au. But before I go, I got another hour or so out there on the test track that I can go and do some driving. It's exactly what I'm going to do now. See you next time.